The Democratic Alliance has maintained a studied silence on controversial opinion piece by Helen Zille, published in the Sunday Times. Zille had been accused of racist stereotyping of young black voters in the opinion piece. In the article, Zille says that there is a new trend of turning whites into scapegoats in South Africa and that this anti-white sentiment was mushrooming at universities. The Western Cape Premier's opinion piece comes even as she faces a disciplinary for her pro-colonialism tweets, but the impending disciplinary has not deterred Zille for continuing her writing spree, defending herself and even going further. The DA has so far not responded to the latest provocation from Helen Zille. Joining us now on the phone line to discuss this further and give views and opinions is COSATU Provincial Secretary General Tony Ehrenreich joins us on the phone line. Good afternoon to you and thank you for joining us here on ANN7. First and foremost, your reaction to Helen Zille's opinion piece.
Well, it's astounding that Helen Zille does not learn the lesson that you can't go about generalizing in the way that she does. There clearly is a desire from her part to defend her statements, and it's not the first statements that she's made that's been offensive or supportive or condoning of both apartheid practices and colonial practices. Statements on calling children refugees here in the Western Cape, the fact that she employs many white consultants to circumvent the employment equity provisions in her government, and she flatly says that she defines whites as being skilled and will continue to employ them where she feels they are not skilled blacks. It's just symptomatic of the attitude that she has displayed since she's been the leader of government. And this is a real concern for workers and the community of the Western Cape generally, and the matter that we took to our officers with a memorandum that was handed over to the Premier yesterday.
And what do you make of the Democratic Alliance's reaction to both Helen Zille's earlier comments or tweets around colonialism and now this opinion piece as well? Do you think that the Democratic Alliance is doing enough?
Well, clearly not. They're in a bind. Helen Zille has clearly exceeded the boundaries, behaved in a racist manner, has tried to justify colonialism, all of which is completely unacceptable and something that the party officially would not want to see themselves aligned to, given the fact that they're trying to appeal to black voters. So they're in a bind about their wanting to hold out a non-racist facade to black voters, while at the same time trying to defend their white liberal base that Helen Zille is a key part of. So that's the dilemma. So what we see here is that they're taking the expedient role of silence on what is a crucial policy issue, on not tackling what is wrong within the leadership, the old white leadership of the party. And essentially you can see that there's not a commitment in the DA to promoting the values of non-racism and condemning the past practices that have impoverished black people, the legacy of which still is alive and well across the country today.
Let's expand a little bit on why it could be difficult for the Democratic Alliance to act against Helen Zille and whether or not this inaction will perpetuate the voter understanding that the DA is maybe soft on racists and racism.
Well, clearly the fact that they're not acting against her. They came out guns blazing saying there would be action against her with the first response to the claims made by Helen Zille on the tweets. So there were guns blazing. Muslim Ayamani was very decisive on saying that there would be action. But the fact that there's now inaction shows how divided the party is amongst the blacks that want to take it in a new direction and make it a party for all South Africans and an effective opposition, and the whites who still want to make it as a party that essentially tries to undermine transformation and the changes of ownership patterns in the country and really says, look, because this is what Helen Zille is suggesting, that the playing fields are level, black people should stop crying, and the whites should continue to have the inside track, the advantages, and all of the generational opportunities that go with the assets that they accumulated under apartheid, largely by theft or then by the apartheid laws that gave them just the freedom to exploit black people in the most horrendous ways. And so this is the challenge. And Helen Zille has presented the party with this challenge, and the party is not being decisive, not coming out on the side of a clear value that says we oppose to racism. We want to undo the legacy of colonialism and racism. So they'll talk that language. Now when they have the first challenge to them to show that they're really committed to that, they're failing that. And black voters will see that. And so the DA will never be an effective party for black people. They'll continue to be on the fringes, and in fact will lose a lot of support through the utterances of Helen Zille and their inability to act against that racist attitude that it displays.
And in this latest opinion piece written by Helen Zille for the Sunday Times newspaper, she has been accused by some racially profiling young black voters and students. Do you believe that this belief will affect her politics and her political profile?
Absolutely. I mean, Helen Zille has presented herself as a champion of the black dispossessed and she played some role in the UDF, but she's presented herself as being committed to those values. And the article that she did around Steve Biko's death, that was all taken as this is the Helen Zille. But besides that, there'd been no commitment to confront the ownership patterns of apartheid, because apartheid wasn't just a system of white people not liking black people, it was a system of accumulation. So Helen Zille will hug you as a black person, but she won't want you to threaten the ownership patterns. That's a legacy of apartheid and what was really the net effect of apartheid, that white people were able to accrue assets and value within the society. And so that's an essential problem. And she is presenting herself as a political liability to the DA because they won't be able to appeal to the black constituency with her displaying this attitude. They're going to be losing votes because of that. And while in the past the DA may have been the only alternative for people who were not happy to vote for the ANC, there are now other parties like the EFF who are viable alternatives and growing alternatives. And so the DA is going to be losing supporters to those other parties because the supporters, the black supporters, will see them as still being closet racist, not prepared to take action against those who are defending not only the apartheid legacy, but also the apartheid generational advantages of white people and wanting to legitimize that firstly and to keep it in place. And so she's a real liability to the DA, and I'm amazed that they're not acting against her for their own political survival, but clearly the liberals in the party still have the upper hand to make decisions.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Aaron Rech, for your time. We appreciate you sharing your views and comments with us here on ANN7. That was Tony Aaron Rech, COSATU Provincial Secretary General, just commenting on Helen Zille's latest opinion piece that was published in the Sunday Times newspaper. She has been accused of racist stereotyping of young black voters in that opinion piece. Give us your views and comments at ANN7 TV is our Twitter handle.